Okay, working on these hinge points here, I'm going to point out a few things that should help you. Now, as you can see on the paper, in the plan there, if you were going to use, say, a ground throw, you'd be making these two long ties here. You'd mount your ground throw to it, and you'd put your center tie in the middle, and that's how you could use a ground throw. We're not going to really go into too much about that since I'm not using a ground throw with this. But something to keep in mind is that the ends of your points might be, the ends of these points might be sharp enough that they'll scrape on the tie right next to it, right here. They'll scrape on there and make it really hard to throw. And we don't want that. So I beveled the very end of mine just a little tiny bit. Okay. And then we'll get into putting more ties in. I already put the first one in. What this tie here does between the one that goes back and forth is it keeps the points from coming out of the hinges. So to make a hinge, what I need is one rail joiner. Now if I'm very careful here, I clip off these, well, I'll leave them on for now. I want to get the middle of this thing. I want to clip them in half. Okay, now that I've got them clipped in half, I got two pieces, but one side is smashed shut. So that means I'm going to need to take a piece of rail and come in from, no, not that piece of rail, but yeah, this one. A piece of rail that I can come in from one side and open that up again. I'll just put that on here. Get them all the way on there. And take a little pliers. Give them a little squeeze a bit. Open them up. Oops, not that much. He's open anyways. Alright, so now he's opened up. Okay, now let's do that to the other one. Let's see where the other guy go. Here he is. Okay. And we're going to put him on our good piece. We're going to open up again. Give him a little squeeze. Oop, okay. Open them up, good enough. So we can get rail on there. In trouble. Okay. Alright, now let's take them. Get a little acid paste going on here. We'll put a little acid paste. Take our tweezers. Alright, let's dip them in some acid. Okay. Alright, we'll put one on. If we can get him just right. It might be tricky at first. When you get him. Okay. Push him on there just like that. Okay, he's on there. Okay, let me do the other one. Take him. Nice and strong. Dip him in some acid. Okay. And we'll get him right on here. Hopefully we've made that opening big enough. We can get him right on there. Did we? Maybe not. Let's check him out. Or we've got our tweezers too far on there. Let's try that again. Now by doing it this way with the half rail joiner, that thickness of the rail joiner itself is not going to raise the height of the rail. So this is a tricky one. This guy doesn't want to go on here very well. Alright, let's try him with a pliers. Oops. Let's try him with pliers a little bit. Okay. Let's take our pliers. See if we can get it on there. He might not be open enough. Looks open. But hey, if he's not open, then we take our piece of rail again. Okay, so we know he's good. Let's try to see if we can fit him on there. It may be that we didn't do enough to clean the rail that he goes on. Maybe there's a burr there or something that's stopping him. Let's see if we can get him. See if we can get him on there. Okay, come on. Let's do that without wrecking it. That's pretty start. Okay, there we go. We got him on there. All right, good enough. Okay, he's in there. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and solder those guys in place. I already got acid on them, so we'll take a little bit of solder. Just hold them down. Oops. That should be on there. Okay. How about this guy? Coming from the other side. I think we got him. That ought to do it. Okay. So now we got our hinges. Now let's take, we haven't cut these to length yet, but let's take them and let's put them in there and open them a little bit if they're not already open. Okay, good enough. There we go. There's the hinges. Next up, we're going to set these lengths. And what I want is I want them to be on this long rail and not on the one next to it. I want them to match up with that little part that we ground out there. So I'm going to take this guy. We'll take our blue Sharpie. Make a mark. Take our cutter. If we get it right, there we go. Okay, now we can see that our this rail here is bent. It's curved. So now we can start shaping it before we start trying to lock it down in place. We're going to make sure he's actually closing. That looks pretty good to me. That looks nice and closed right there. Let's take this one. We want him to be about right there. And be about right there. Okay. Clip them. Then we're going to check him. When it's open and when he closes, when he closes, how are we looking? He's not bent enough because he's kind of on the curved side. I'm just going to give him a little bit of bending. Not too much. Just a little bit. Okay, that was good except for the end. We just keep working them until we get them closed nicely. Once we get them closed nicely, that's not terrible. Oh, let's make sure he's in. Okay, that really ain't bad. And so what we can do now is we can take our alignments, we can straighten them up a little bit. See if we can get a better closure. He's leaning to the side just a little bit. Let's check in with this guy under here. Yeah, he's leaning a little bit. So we need to check then. And while we're checking this, let's go ahead and make sure this middle guy is nice and smooth beveled. Okay, let's make sure that he's beveled so that he's not catching anything. And then the bottoms of these points got to be nice and smooth. All right, that guy's good. This guy is leaning over. He's leaning over partially because this rail joiner here is also leaning him, making him lean. See if we can get him there. What about that? What does he do now? Ah, there we go. Perfect. Nice. There he is. How about this guy? Does he like to close nicely? It's not terrible, but we're going to file off just a little bit on the edge here. File off a little bit right back here. We got to make sure we keep the bottom smooth though. Okay, it's not too bad. We can put just a little bit of a bend right about like that. That we can work with. There we go. Now that they're set up, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up the ties so we can throw this thing.